Okay, how's that? Yeah, I don't know why it does that. Like every time I'm trying to live stream over time, it eventually just forgets that you're using your specific microphone for chatting. I mean, what's the deal with that? Like every time I'm trying to live. Okay, here it is. Okay, everything is all up and running now. Yeah, we fixed it. Yeah, for many of you who have noticed recently, I have been doing a couple of live streams on my PlayStation 5 because I had some problems with my PC in terms of live streaming, and I've been getting back into playing PC building simulator to figure out what the heck the problem is. I mean, it's been a long time since I played that, and the last time I played that, I was putting together my PC for the first time, and it wasn't just. I mean, when you look at it, it's not just a game. It is like a tool that you download it on your PS4 or PS5 or whatever you're using, and you're learning how to place together your components to build your PC. And that was the main reason why I got back into playing it recently off camera. And right now, it seems like it's running just fine. I wanted to speculate if it had might have something to do with a CPU or GPU that is getting old. Hence of having the PC for about 3 years now. However, it could also be the fact that I'm live streaming games off of my PlayStation 5 that is supporting up to graphics that are 4K and maybe more than that, and that the PC is somehow not powerful enough to handle that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because for a lot of players that have played Fortnite for quite a long time, we're now entering this new era where we're now playing up to higher graphics now, up to 4K, up to 8K, whatever these gaming studios have in store for a lot of us gamers these days. And it boils down to the point where a lot of professional streamers that are broadcasting their live streams in terms of YouTube or Twitch or whatever they're using it to upgrade their components. And I know it will come to that day that I will have to do those, but as of right now, I'm trying to remain under budget in terms of live streaming and bringing more content into the channel. Like, for those who have followed my channel for quite a long time, I haven't always used a PC. In fact, I did all of my content creating on my PlayStation 4 using the Share Factory app that you could download instantly onto your PlayStation 4 for free, and plus it is available on a PS5 now, which I'm really glad that they did. And I'm not sure if Xbox does this for their consoles, but I do know for a fact that Nintendo doesn't have that type of software as of right now. But maybe it'll be something that they will someday consider in the future. Um, yeah, I have some other projects that I was hoping to live stream, but however, hence I have most of those games on my PC, I think I'd rather stay on the safe side and just do a recording and bring it onto the channel as another Let's Play series instead of just a live stream so that we don't lose connection down the road. I mean, of course, it's no secret that World of Warcraft is now following into that route where they're bringing in some much better graphics to make everything a little more realistic for their gamers. Um, to me personally, in my opinion, but this is just me saying, I honestly think that most of these changes are unnecessary in terms of gaming graphics. Like, I get that they want to appeal their current and new gamers, but there are some games that you really don't have to bring higher resolution in terms of frame rates and what have you just to make a really good game. Like, World of Warcraft Classic is doing it very well successfully in terms of its original content, including its original graphics that had been included before we got to our today's current graphic system that we're gaming with right now when playing World of Warcraft, right? And it is absolutely quite bothersome for many of us content creators in terms of trying to keep up with creating content in terms of live streaming, what have you. Um, I mean, normally that isn't entirely necessarily so bad, but sometimes you're bound to come across some major bugs and glitches when you're trying to introduce this new content for your today's gamers. And we've already seen that happening with, or we have seen that happened with Cyberpunk 2077 when it first launched. And it wasn't very well received because of those very particular reasons. And like, I get they want to appeal their fans and their gamers into these greater graphics, but sometimes you just have to start at a very bottom level. Like, if you have to start your games at a 1080p graphics, then go ahead and do it. Like, that's the best way to start before moving up to 4K. And we've seen that happen over time with Grand Theft Auto for many years since after launch when it came out for the PlayStation 3. Although I didn't play it at the very beginning, but again, that was something that is worth considering that I believe that many gaming developers should take to consideration when creating their games. And for Fortnite, I noticed that over time it does get a little glitchy in terms of internet connection, and I think most of it had something to do with the newer content in terms of graphics that they introduced into the game. Uh, what is it called? Unreal Engine 5, just to appeal their current generation of gamers. And I really think that was the reason why they didn't stick to Chapter 3 for very long. It was because they were in such a hurry to introduce their gamers to these newer generation of graphics. And it's not just the fact that the map wasn't entirely as popular as the previous maps and our current map that we have now. Mm. Excuse me, I'm trying to clear my throat here. So, let's see. For many of you who have been watching a lot of my live streams recently, I stated that someday I'm going to get a webcam for my PlayStation 5, and that is something that I still intend on doing in the future. And the reason why I want to do that is because, again, I haven't always been a content creator in terms of making content on my PC. In fact, I've done it in the beginning on my PlayStation 4, and I figured that if, God forbid, if my PC were to act out again, and that none of the components will ever want to work again, why not just invest into something that I could use as a plan B in terms of future content creating? Like, if I can't get my PC to work, I could just continue to make content on my PlayStation 4 and my PlayStation 5 while I have all this equipment in stores, and bring in more games through those systems. And that's not necessarily so bad. I mean, a lot of beginning content creators that do that, and a lot of big streamers out there still use these settings. Like Frito, for an example, who is a part of the Bros for Life crew, who I've been following for years. He still live streams his content directly through console and not on PC. Hence being a working dad and all that, and has to support his wife and kids, which is understandable. Like, it's always important to maintain a healthy life worth living outside of content creating, and normally you wouldn't want to bust the bank into spending so much money on these expensive components. Alright, and I've watched a lot of YouTube videos in terms of building PCs that is highly recommended in terms of what components you need to use for live streaming and gaming. And a lot of the players that I've noticed have been using the Ryzen 7 series, and as of right now, that's nothing that I would want to consider investing in quite yet, because I wouldn't just need the CPU, but I would also need other components in order to match the specs and watts, what have you, in order to make it good enough to run. And plus, it could be dangerously flammable because it takes up a whole lot of heat when you're live streaming huge games. I don't know if it's just from PC or if you're using an Elgato connected to your console, but something definitely we're considering. However, I rather just stay on the safe side and go for something much less than that, and just either get another Vega Graphics Ryzen 3 CPU, what I'm using right now, or just get a Series 5 CPU, which doesn't necessarily overheat like what everybody's currently using. But the fact is, I don't really extremely game off of my PC a whole lot in terms of huge AAA titles, what have you, things like that. I rather much prefer do it on my console, which is much on the safe side, to say the very least. And then just hook it up onto my PC and live broadcast it there. Unless if it's too powerful to handle, I could just live stream it directly off of console. Which is what I'm doing right now for Resident Evil 4 Remake. And maybe unless if I could afford it, I could just always get a laptop as a backup in terms of live streaming. But then again, it probably won't be such a good idea, because there's not really a whole lot you could do to compared to building your own PC, because building a PC is much more customizable than owning a laptop. Mm. Mm. And what else do I want to say? I noticed that some days that when I'm making announcements and I'm taking a week off and wanted to make more content, frankly, I don't keep up to my word from time to time when I'm been wanting to make some time to record some stuff for the channel. Part of the reasons why I hardly keep up with that is because due to the fact that I hardly get enough sleep because I'm working third shift at UPS, and a lot of stuff that has been happening there has been quite hectic. Like, we just had another we just had a power outage not too long ago, and we had to evacuate the building, which is kind of a scary situation to be in the middle of. But thankfully, nobody was hurt. But again, uh, we were all lucky that nobody got hurt. And it was definitely a tight situation that a lot of us didn't want to be in. And I'm not going to go into so much details about work, just to stay in the safe side. But I do want to say that things have been really good since after I left my previous job, and I'm absolutely quite happy with it. In fact, I don't have to worry about any problematic coworkers that refuse to do any of the work that they're hired to do, that normally I would be blamed for had I continued to work in retail. And what else? Oh yeah, and not having to worry about being put under peer pressure of having to do any price check for a customer, which is another positive thing that I wouldn't have to worry about anymore. Uh Sorry, I'm watching the live feed on my phone right now because again, I want to make sure that the live stream is coming in pretty good. Yeah, and I heard from Ninja Soldier recently that he is working on making some more content for his podcast channel right now, and hopefully he does get caught up on that and gets more followers onto it. And I did point out that I'll be more open to doing interviews with him in the future if he wants to, or at least consider being third wheel co-host for the channel if necessary. I mean, of course, he has Sad Weed that also is a part of the channel, and hey, I'm open to the idea of being a part of it as much as I could if necessary, if it'll help him grow his channel a little bit more. Like, I really don't mind helping a friend out in the community. Yeah, in fact, I've had been asked to for many years since launch about what I do and how others can grow their channels too. And many of the struggles that I deal with is that I'm sitting in front of my computer, right, and I'm going over the details of what they need to do in terms to grow their channel, right, and sadly they just don't entirely follow through 100%. Like, a friend of mine that is here in Perrysburg, he is a content creator on Twitch, right, and he asked me for some advice on what he could do to grow his channels and gain more viewership, and I pointed out to him that he could start his social media accounts, share his channel out so that he could gain more followers that way, and plus he could collaborate with other streamers, which is also something to consider. And the bigger issue is that he doesn't want to make any social media accounts, nor would he think about who or whom of which he should bring into his channel in terms of collaboration. Like, dude, I'm literally throwing myself out there to you, and I am technically telling you that you could just always ask me to collaborate if you have to. Like, we're clearly in the same freaking city. Like, why not just ask me to appear on your freaking channel, right? Like, I basically have much bigger results than you do in terms of your content creating, and I've given you all the tools that you needed, and you're not following. And another thing that I wanted to point out too is that a lot of these content creators have been making these same mistakes, which I have noticed recently. And watching bigger content creators out there, I noticed how they were able to get their followers in terms of collaborations. Here's the mistake. If you guys decide to do a live stream together, the very simplest way to collaborate is to have one person appear onto your channel and then just have you yourself appear onto their channel the next day, so that it's separate and not at the same time. And I noticed that mistake has been happening, or that it has happened in the past when I'm collaborating with certain people. Like, last year